have more than one pattern, like for certain parts. That's going to help you arrange your beat a lot better. And that's why I say I like to make my beats and arrange like simultaneously. Once I really have like the vibe going, then I just, track it all out into the playlist and then I build other stuff into the beat. And that's going to help you a lot with just arrangement and counter melodies and, just making your beat sound more full because now you're having a whole layout of what can go in and out. So right here, adding that 808 just made it bounce in the beginning and get everybody pumped up. I like to think of these kind of beats as like concert vibes. Like what's going to get the crowd going, you feel me? And that gross beat effect is like, you can't really go wrong with gross beat, as long as your melody is fast enough. If your melody is like slow already, I don't recommend using gross beat in the intro. Keep in mind, we're not in double time. We're actually at 84 BPM. This is 8 bars. If it was double time, this whole thing would be like the actual 8 bars, but this is actually 8 bars from here to here. So now we could get into the verse. And you can see I could actually take off that 808 pattern and go back with the regular 808, probably even take out some perks. You just want to think about arrangement as like a roller coaster. And, we had our built up from the intro into the climax part. And then you want to kind of bring down the roller coaster, make everybody catch their breath and shit. And then you will build it back up. That's kind of the idea. So let's actually see how this would sound with the first 808 pattern. I'm just like doing this all on the spot. I just took out this kick and I like how the beat is bouncing without the kick. So I would actually take out the kicks. This would be the first 4 bars. So this right here will all be 8 bars. And usually I like to make my beats about like 12 bars now. But let's keep in mind though, we don't want this same melody just repeating. And even though this is a loop, let's try putting the gross beat back on it. Just so we could like switch it up. We don't want that, that same melody to keep playing because then it could get boring. So we could do that for the first 8 bars. Let's see how that sounds. I be shooting in this bitch, I ain't trying to fight. I heard that nigga talking down, so he gotta die. We gonna run up in his house and commit a crime. All my niggas with the shit, yeah, that's my slime. And that was sick. Usually what I like to do when it comes to the like last 12 bars or the last bar, I drop everything because then we're gonna go back into the chorus. Like arrangement doesn't have to be some kind of mathematical, difficult type of thing. It's more of a vibe. Let's hear how this sounds. I could even let the hi-hat just roll out. I like to cut off the 808s and the kicks just to have that drop feel. And you could also do more with transitions. I'm not really big on transitions, so you won't really see me use it a lot. Once I hear artists on it, I'll let them decide, like, in the production side of it when they recording. The engineer, he could put like little stop effects and stuff. So I don't always think my production side stops with me. I like to keep it simple, only because I know the kind of artists that I'm trying to sell to or that's going to be getting on these kind of beats. So I think that's another thing to keep in mind, because if you have artists that are very intrigued by bridges and different transitions and stuff like that, then cool. Then you might want to take more of your time. Like, let's just use common sense. Outro is very easy. You can just like leave the loop going or the melody. For For something that's ongoing like that, I would just cut it off on the second bar. Let's get into the second beat. All right, so here goes the other beat. As you can see, this one is not arranged at all. They're not even in its own like tracks. So once I have it all on one pattern, I like to do split by channel. I go to patterns in the top left corner, go to split by channel. What that does is this breaks everything down into its own track. And I put my instruments at the top, put my 808s and kicks, then the drums. Kick, snare, and hat is like the primary drums. And then everything else is like secondary. Crashes at the bottom, my tag at the bottom. You know, that's just a quick thing that I like to do. And then I also just like to control B the whole thing. Now it's just about taking things out. So I just do that for a couple of bars. Really, I don't really count it. I just do it till I have enough. So now we're actually in double time at 152. 8 bars is actually gonna be like this. Rather than in the first one, it was just, you know, this would have been 8 bars, but we're in double time. So to start off, let's hear how this would sound just with the pad and the piano. So I don't want the 808 to come in right there like how I did in the other one. The other beat was a different vibe, so I wouldn't necessarily put this 808 right in the beginning with it. I'll probably just add a guitar stab to this, introduce a little new thing for this second half. That's what arrangement is about. It's not about making like big changes more than a subtle change, and adding that guitar stab. And once you get used to arranging more beats, a lot of things are going to come to you. Like this came in my head where, okay, drop out the pad and have that piano play. That's like a common thing. You can even drop it out further. So quick tip, when you're doing any kind of like changes, it could always happen at the end of the 4th bar. It says 9 right here, which was supposed to be 8 if we're not in double time, but it's cut in half, so 4. And this is goes with making your switch up with variations. Switch it up at every 4 bar. And this is a common one to take out the actual beats right here. A tag can actually be like a transition, you know. So I don't want the guitar stabs to keep hitting like that, because then, you know, the guitar stabs is supposed to be something that is just air candy or something like that. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's not supposed to be so frequent. All right, so you can already hear, like, you don't want that 808 to just keep going, because the 808 is very heavy in this, and you just don't want that to keep playing throughout the beat, because that's just gonna have that listener ears be fatigued. And also in this part, you can add like a little subtle change as far as, you know, adding a bit more melody to this second part, just to make it stand out a bit. So that's what I'm gonna do. And just play it by your ear, like. So what I'm hearing right here, I do want another switch up instead of it playing over again. As you can see, I just made this an octave higher. just like that. Taking out that pad because it's so airy in the high frequency, then it drops more dramatically. Like I said, like a roller coaster. The reason why the chorus is so bright and big is because of the high frequency sounds. And so you can also think about, frequency when it comes to arranging. So if you know you have a high sound, like high frequency sound, let's just look at our pad real quick. Pull up an EQ. So it's not like super high mids and treble, but it's up there in the mids. Let's look at our piano. The piano is taking up like the bass all the way up to the high mids. So taking out that, actual pad, which is like really bass in the mid range, it's just going to make up more space in the beat. And also with the piano having such a wide spectrum as far as, the bass to the high mids, it's going to do well on its own rather than the pad on its own. So I could just make it ride out like that. Let's see. Remember that trick where I said at the fourth bar or the ending bar, you could just add that cutoff. Just have that as one of your tools. I'm gonna actually add the pianos in. I just feel like this is too empty, and it's empty because, like I showed you, in the frequency range, it's only in the mids. So I'm not really hearing a support from the low mids or even in some highs. Like it's not really doing the job. Now I'm gonna go to my drums and see what I could take out. Maybe I don't need that bounce snare right here. Or I could take out the bounce snare at this part and put it right here. Let's just hear. So the open hats, I really like how it's complementing the whole second part of this verse. So I would actually take it out right here, and then that would add more excitement. And when it comes to the verse, start off mellow, then go a bit high, and then drop, and then go high again. At least that's how I like to look at it. Because when it goes high, it's building up, and then you have this like pre-chorus or whatever you want to call it, where it gets subtle again, just so that it can just drop harder when the chorus comes. So let's just hear how that sounds with the open hi-hats off on this part and on this part, and the bounce snares on this part and off at this part. I thought about taking the guitar stab out because, like I said, it's just supposed to be like that air candy. I feel like to have it right here is just like, I'm just kind of overdoing it at this point. Like, that's just me. Personally, you can still keep it. And just like that, man, that is another beat right here. So let's actually get into the last beat. All right, so for the third one, it's kind of like the first one. I kind of have a little bit of a arrangement, and I'm just gonna go over the basics of what I did. And I kind of talked about this throughout the video of having different variations of your drums. If your sound sounds good in a low and a high, then kind of mess with that in the intro. Like this is the low. And this is high octave. So I decided to went into the high then low just so that, in the sense I was thinking about darkness. And when you think about darkness, it's very kind of low tones in a sense. Well, at least that's how I like to perceive it. Remember, music is all about how you perceive it. That's why don't get so caught up in other people's perceptions, because then you're not going to have a perception of your own. So that's what I did for this beginning part. And remember, I say your tag could be like a transition as well. You just don't want to have it throughout the whole beat. So I could drop it like this. I could even bring it back a bit. I feel like there should be at least a little one. Yeah. And you see I took out the snares for that part. Let's just look at the snare pattern. So it's giving that bounce. So that second snare right here, you don't want to just put all your drums right here. Take some out. Don't take so much out where it doesn't sound like the chorus. Like this could still sound like the chorus without that second bounce. This now builds it. And then I also did like some piano trills. Adding that, I didn't have to switch up my whole, beats, even though this is a long progression. So also keep that in mind. Like when it comes to your arrangements, rather than having like these 2-bar loops, 4-bar loops type of thing, have like an 8-bar loop. This is going to make it a lot easier because now you could take out certain parts or you could add certain parts, like I just added this piano trill. And I actually did another 808. Shout out to my boy Pacino. He actually made this pattern and I made this pattern. Or honestly, I can't remember, but we both worked on it together. One of us made one set and the other made the second set. He's really good at drums, so I let him do the drums. But also, this is not a chord. This is just like the sampler. So let me just take that out to not confuse you guys. This is the actual pattern. Now I have a second arrangement of the 808s and the kicks. So let's just hear it. So I'm not really liking how the kicks are moving because there's too much kicks, as you can see. I would rather keep this pattern because it's more space on top of this 808. Let's hear it. Telling you, them 8-bar loops, because if you're making 12-bar verses, then it's going to be a lot easier to have an 8-bar loop and then this, kind of have this part chopped, and just like I did with the other ones, just have this like a mini pre-chorus or whatever. So also remember, you don't need to have the open hats playing all the way through. And just to go back, this is open hat 1, open hat 2. So that's another tip. Pay attention to what is being used frequently and take that out. Look, I got 2 hi-hat patterns. I can even take out one in the beginning of the chorus and add the extra one right here to build more excitement. It's good to have layers, kind of like how the 808s was hidden. Maybe even go with the 808s 1 that's in the chorus. Yeah. So in my head, I'm hearing dun dun. So I'm gonna cut that part in half. That just goes down 1 semitone. So if you made it this far, just want to say thank you and that I hope you got a lot of gems from it. Like and subscribe and share with your other producer friends. And let's just keep creating.